Hi, welcome to Top Shelf Takes, the only show on the internet that is made up of complete fact and no opinion whatsoever. Our topic today is the top six best, ready for it, superheroes of all time. Now, you know the game. We're each going to list off our top six in taking from number six to number five and so on, and we're going to debate to make a final, undisputed top six list that can never be argued again. My name is Tim. I'll be one of your hosts today.
I'm Dylan.
Hi, I'm Katie.
Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for coming.
So excited to be here.
Yeah. Now, you'll notice Tommy, a.k.a. Biz, could not be with us today. He sends much love. Our dinosaur expert can't be here, but he did a wonderful job hosting the other game, and I do want to give my little salute to him. So, without further ado, are you guys ready?
Oh, I am, Tim.
I think so, yeah.
For my number six, I am going with Black Widow. I'm going to say Black Widow. She's a super spy. She's been an anti-hero at times, and she is the heart of the Avengers. I love Black Widow so much, and she has shown that she's been shown as this voice of reason and a moral compass for the team. And I really think that the team would not have been able to be made without her. She helped form it. She helped keep it together. She kind of keeps a level head when the Hulk's running around crazy and they're all kind of just like beating each other up. And and fun fact about Black Widow, and shout out to ScarJo because I like her as Black Widow quite a bit. Remember in Age of Ultron when they're lifting Thor's hammer and she's like, I'm gonna pass. I don't really need to know that. That's because she can lift Thor's hammer and she is worthy. And the comics have shown that Black Widow can lift that hammer. So that's just a fun little fact that I found really interesting. I'll pass it off to Dylan.
Well, Tim, we know I consider this six spot as like an honorable mention, not necessarily a 6 out of 10, but like we have that extra spot in there. I like to do a fun honorable mention pick.
Okay.
I feel like you're a little rude there to Black Widow, though.
Oh.
Only 6?
We got a lot of superheroes on this list, Dylan. A lot of superheroes.
And we'll come back to this. My number 6 pick is the International Justice League of Super Acquaintances, made up of Mermaid Man, SpongeBob as the Quickster, Squidward as, oh my god, what's his name? Krakatoa, the magma guy.
Oh yeah.
Patrick disappears. The SpongeBob superhero squad.
Oh, that's
my
awesome.
Collective number 6. And I would like to take a look back at a previous. The Penguins of Madagascar qualified as a unit as one group. And I'm going to apply the same thing here.
Cool. Yeah, I guess I kind of went down a similar route as number 6 is also kind of an honorable mention for me, but also at the same time, I think he's legit. I think he's a badass and he's a cool dude. I went with Frozone. I think I've made the argument before and I will continue to make it until it happens that he deserves his own movie. I think he is one of the major takeaways from both of the Incredibles films. He's just epic and always comes in to save the day and help the main family. So he deserves more than a supporting role, I think.
Okay, well, first of all, I think we have a philosophical difference here on what the number 6 spot means. I consider it part of the list. I've always kind of thought we go a step further than a top 5 because 5 can't be the perfect list. So we add on the extra slot. So I added the 6th spot thinking here's how we don't leave that person who just hurts to leave off the list off. That being said, we can take it in that other direction. That's just where I'm coming from. I love both your picks so much. Katie, I'll address Frozone in my arguments. I kind of felt the same way about Black Widow for a while that I felt about Frozone, and they're finally doing it. They're making a Black Widow movie whenever we get it. So from that kind of aspect, I'm they're doing the right thing there. Frozone should be next.
I think Black Widow deserves to be higher on this list. and we'll come back to that. But I think she deserves a higher than the 6th spot, personally.
I was just gonna say that I personally don't have Black Widow on my list at all, because she's kind of that like a middle of the road, like the one that grounds everybody. So I tend to overlook her just similarly as the people that make the movies have also until now. But that being said, I agree with what you said about how she and Frozone are kind of like similar arguments, and that she is like the heart of the Avengers. So I would be willing to give my vote for her as number 6, seeing as she's not on my list at all.
I'll just say I'm doing a lot of, I think Endgame does a lot of heavy lifting where they're really trying to fix mistakes of the past, because I found her to be like the heart of the movie Endgame. Maybe that's just me, but like I like was like, that's the Black Widow I've been waiting for. And so like I really appreciate, and Infinity War a little bit, but she's not in that movie a ton, but when she is, she's awesome. But I just like, I don't know. I think that she kind of steps out of the box that she's been put in, because the MCU does kind of forget about her sometimes. So, but let's address SpongeBob. I love it.
Forget about it.
Is it that we put them all together, like they count as one superhero basically, because like they're like, let's be real, they're just like SpongeBob and Mermaid Man's like, I thought of Mermaid Man as like, oh yeah, that's an option for the list, and then I was like, no.
Yeah, Dylan, I am so happy that they appeared in the discussion.
Yeah,
that being said, I don't think they're saving the world. So
and I would absolutely concede this spot to Black Widow, but I did the same thing, Katie, where I thought of Mermaid Man, and then I was like, no, what's that episode where they all get together?
So our number 6 spot is Black Widow.
Cool. So for my number 5, I had someone that I have a hero that I'd forgotten about until I had to really consider like all the superheroes that I know for this show. And that is Jessica Jones. She has that show on Netflix. That's my point of reference. I want to clarify that. But she popped in my head because she's like a total badass. And what I was trying to consider when coming up with this list was not only like their superpowers, but also their backstories and who they are as like characters. And Jessica's had it like tough. And so I felt like she deserved a props. Like she has the general like superpowers of like flight and super strength, and she can block mind control, which is awesome, and comes in handy with her like main like super villain Kilgrave. She's just a badass, and I think she deserves to be on this list.
I'll try to follow up on that argument, Katie. My number 5, you're repping them right now. It's Batman. I personally, the original Batman trilogy was some of the, like, not I want to say first superhero movies, but around the time where I started to watch superhero movies, and they got me into superhero movies. Shout out to the original series. I loved it. I loved the Batman.
To clarify, do you mean the Christian Bale series?
Yes.
There's a lot of Batman before that, so I just want to like make sure.
Oh, okay. The Dark Knight trilogy.
Okay, cool.
To clarify.
Thank you.
But yeah, I feel like again, where we're making a list with the top superheroes of all time, Batman needs to make this list.
I'm going to go one that I think you're gonna cringe at, because I think you're gonna think he's too low, but I think Batman's too low. So I'll come right back at you. I have Iron Man at number 5. Guys,
Really?
but here's the thing. You guys look at number 5 like it's a bad spot. These are the top 6 superheroes of all time.
Like, I feel like you're but so you're saying there are 4 other superheroes out there better than Iron Man?
I truly believe that. Yes.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
The disrespect.
No.
The blatant.
If you're in the top 6, you are looking great. Like, hear me out. Okay. Fantastic debut in the MCU. I firmly believe that Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. are the reasons that the MCU was able to take off. Iron Man has probably the most significant character arc of anyone in the MCU, and he goes from...
would make him higher.
What?
Which you would think would make him higher.
Okay, you can say that, but he goes from selfish billionaire to world-saving superhero to mentor figure to reluctant come out of retirement savior. He's awesome, but why is he number 5? Because it's all Robert Downey Jr. Are you gonna go pick up a Iron Man comic? Are you gonna like not an Avengers comic? Do you want to just go read about Iron Man fighting whatever metal monster? No, I want to watch an Iron Man in the Avengers. He needs the team. I don't really love his sequels that much. I want to watch him in the Avengers. Like, I want to see him supported by the team. And though I love him, I think a lot of it is owed to Robert Downey Jr. and how he interacts with the crew. So, if we're looking at superheroes, I think he very much deserves to be on this list, but I think there are 4 others that might be able to hold their own a little stronger. People are getting heated. Let's bring it in.
I would go pick up an Iron Man comic because, like, the thing is like, and in that entire argument, you didn't say the name Tony Stark, like, at all. You said Robert Downey Jr. and you said Iron Man. So, like, you're not looking at him as just, like, the character himself, too, which brings me to my next thing, just in general, is that I find it interesting for this round of the number 5 spot that we have, like, Iron Man and Batman are, like, the parallels to each other in the DC and Marvel, like, universes. And then Batman and Jessica Jones are both, like, gritty. So I found that interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a very similar list.
It is.
But I just think Iron Man should be higher because, to me, he also is, like you said, the character development is impressive.
I absolutely agree with you 100%, Katie. Tim, I'm going to fight very hard for the spot I have Iron Man at for all the reasons you just said. Iron Man is just one of my personal favorite characters throughout the MCU the entire time. And
He's mine too.
And, like, his conflict with Captain America, like, all this stuff, all the things that because you said he relies on the team. There's no Avengers without Iron
Man. There's no Avengers without Nick Fury.
Okay, technically, but you know what I mean. Iron Man is one of those, like Katie said, the heart of the team. You can't have a civil war. You can't have Captain America Civil War without Iron Man to be there to cause the conflict.
Look, I don't mean to disrespect Tony Stark and Iron Man. I love Iron Man. I just gave the reasons that I, like before, that I think number 5 is a really great spot for him. But I'll fold over. But I want to say, I think Batman is, like, the superhero. Like, I think he is one of the, like, top tier ultimate superheroes. Like, I don't want to spoil anything on my list, but when we talk about who needs to be higher, for me, I'm like, Batman, climb that list. I think we're on opposite lines of the field here for Batman. Now, Jessica, oh, okay, I like that little Iron Man. Look, I don't mean to roll over Jessica Jones. It's almost unfair because she's next to 2 franchise leaders. And you know, I just would say if you look at her as a pure superhero, she's very street level as opposed to these, like, godlike characters, right? So I just think she has kind of the short stick of being next to Batman and Iron Man.
I'd like to point out Tim said godlike characters for maybe the only 2 dudes in their universes that are just dudes in suits.
That's funny. Okay, yeah. That's fair.
That's true. They just make their stuff. They're literally the same, like, literally the same character, except Batman's like, ugh, and Tony's like, and, like, that's it.
I love that. Oh my God, I love that. All right, look, this kills me. I'll make my argument for him later, but if we can agree on Batman for 5 right now, then I will concede.
I've never seen a Batman movie in my life, but sure, I get it. Shout out to Holy Musical Batman. That's my only point of reference.
Great. We love Batman. Are you guys okay with Batman? I'm not trying to make this decision for the team.
Considering this is my original pick, I'm definitely okay with it.
I think he's a combination, like I said, of, like, the grit of Jessica Jones and then being literally the same person as Tony Stark almost. So.
I think he's different than Tony Stark. I think they have the same kind of, like, skeleton of a character, but I think personality, they get pretty different as they go on. And, like, yeah. All right. Our number 5 spot is Batman. Let's go on to number 4. I'll kick this one off. I think Dylan's gonna just kick my butt because I know I have
against TVA, dude. Bring it on.
I know I have all of his like top tier characters at like my 5 and 4 spots. My number 4 spot is Spider-Man.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Oh, damn.
What? Can I make my case? Because
No, go ahead.
okay, all right, a little low. I know you may think, but I love Spidey. He's so relatable and good-hearted. I tend actually, if we're talking about a Spider-Man, I tend to lean towards Tobey just because he's who I grew up with. However, I'm always down for some Tom Holland, or Into the Spider-Verse is another great option. We get Miles Morales into the universe. We get plenty of new Spider-Men that come into the equation, and there's a lot of different areas of this character to choose from. And I think Spider-Man a lot of times seems to us like he's us if we got superpowers in this world. And that's why he kind of stands the test of time. He's the most relatable, and he has to overcome regular issues just as well as superhero issues. So, but I think I need to say I had to make some tough choices here. My top 3 are very difficult to beat. I think number 4 is a very fair spot for the web slinger. I'm going number 4, Spider-Man.
Okay, so just for reference, Tim just put my favorite superhero ever at the 4 spot. And Iron Man's up there too, but yeah, we've kind of had the opposite.
You're looking at 5 and 4 like they're bad spots. I'm looking at this list. You're in great company.
I mean, I'm looking at these characters and being like, who is better than them? My number 4 pick, if she's already on this list, is Black Widow. I just had her, for all the same arguments previously, I just had her a little higher than 6.
I have one of my favorites, but I recognize how he can be annoying to some people, and seem like maybe a little bit too much of a good boy, and that is Captain America. I put him on here. I was telling Tim beforehand that I originally had Thor on my list, and then I remembered that Cap, similarly to Black Widow, as we learned, is like the only other person that can lift Mjolnir. So I had to put him on here also because he's near and dear to my heart and one of my favorites. He's just a good person. That's my like main argument, is he's just like a solely like good dude. Yeah, but I don't know. He's not my number 1, but I mean, in my heart he is. But
yeah, if I can address that, Katie, I don't think he's annoying in the slightest. Captain America is I will say this, it's not a full spoiler for my list. He is my favorite MCU character. He is the person that I am ready to most show up for in the MCU. And though I love that they sent him off in the best way possible in Endgame, it breaks my heart that we're not getting more Chris Evans, Captain America, because I adore him. So for me, he is higher than 4 on my list. That being said, the goal is to get him on the list. So I would say there's an argument to be had for him to go higher, but I would be happy to have him just on the list.
I then also have an argument for Spider-Man to be higher on the list.
I also have an argument for Spider-Man higher, and I would love to concede this spot as Black Widow's out of there. I'd love to give it to Captain America, see him make this list as well.
Okay.
I'm willing to fight for Spider-Man higher on this list.
It hurts me too, Tim. It hurts me too. I love Steve Rogers so much. And again, talking about like backstory and everything, like his origin story alone is so interesting. And then to see how he changes, like dealing with Bucky and everything throughout like all the films is just like, he's amazing. But I can see for some people, I know not us, but for some people, he might be a little vanilla. And I get that.
Words can't say how much I love Captain America. I really do. I dressed up as him for Halloween one year. Like, I love him. Our number 4 spot is Captain America.
Sweet, cool. At number 3, I have 2 people technically, although they have the same powers because they're from the same place and of the same species, and that is Superman / Supergirl.
Oh.
I put them on here because, I mean, Superman's like the OG superhero. So I figured he had to be on here somewhere. Um, and then, I mean, I also, like I said before, I was trying to figure out where I could squeeze some women into this list so that it would accurately also reflect my opinions. And I love Supergirl. I have a Supergirl costume right here. I love her. Because again, it's sort of like kind of like what I said about Captain America. Between the two of them, they're both just like pure-hearted people and genuinely just trying to help. And their powers are cool. And I don't know how they decided what powers they have, because like laser vision mixed with like super speed and flight, like that's a lot, but like cool. And then only like one real handicap of like kryptonite, and that's like pretty much it. That's badass. So yeah, I got Superman or Supergirl or both.
My number 3 spot is actually Wonder Woman. Because I wanted to make sure there were a couple of females that made this list, and I think for my beginning of this argument, I'm just gonna say when the DCU started coming out with new movies to try to kind of rival Marvel's, they weren't great. They weren't any like to start when they first started, like Suicide, not like original, but like Suicide Squad, like Batman versus Superman, like not good. But then Wonder Woman came out, and Wonder Woman was the best film that they had put out in a few years. I loved the movie. I loved Wonder Woman's character in that. I thought they did a great job with the whole film. Like, and I think again, she's a classic superhero too. And I think she also deserves a spot on this list, up there with the same thing with Superman, Supergirl. I would love to give her a shout out on this list.
Yeah, Dylan, I'm going to join you on this one. My number 3 is also Wonder Woman. I love Wonder Woman. Need I say more? Apart from being like an insanely important figure for the feminist movement, she's just awesome. She can stand toe-to-toe with Superman. She's often a leader in the Justice League, and she is the ultimate survivor. Like literally, like whenever anyone is faced with like a death-defying plot, Wonder Woman's still standing at the end of the day. And not to mention, Gal Gadot is awesome as Wonder Woman. She's the perfect Wonder Woman. And I can't wait for 1984. I can't talk enough.
She kicks the ass of an actual god.
Yeah, that's my thing. So yeah, when I watch the Justice League, you think the big 3 are, if I can just address Superman, the big 3 you think of in the Justice League are usually Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, right? And I just would rather watch Batman and Wonder Woman. And it's nothing against Superman. It just happens to be that the same problem I have with Superman, I have with Supergirl, that they're just a little too overpowered, and it takes a little bit out of the interest for me. It's not saying that I dislike them. I enjoy them quite a bit. It's just I sometimes feel like the plot, I don't want to say the plot suffers, but it just like feels like they're too unbeatable. And I like seeing a hero that really has to push for the win. And I'm not saying they don't, just sometimes that can take a little bit of the air out of Superman and Supergirl for me, though I do like them very much.
So this is the one that like Supergirl for me is based off of clearly my personal bias, as well as like for Superman, it's like I try to not think about the DC films and what they did to him because it makes me mad. I don't think they do a good job with him at all. Like I said before, it's because he's like the original like superhero, and just to me like is like a like legend in terms of like when you have a list of superheroes of like all time like that are epic, you gotta put super like man on there, you know. And then I just like Supergirl too. My point of reference for her is more her show on the CW, in which I feel like she struggles a lot. I never really felt like she just like could easily overpower someone. I always felt like they made it like they did a good job of having her be an equal match to whoever she was fighting. And because she's like young, she had to like grow too, which helped. Whereas like Superman's just kind of like already, I get your argument of him just already kind of being like, he's also a god pretty much.
Yeah, so I can't speak much to Supergirl because I didn't watch the show myself. I saw her when she crossed over because I watched The Flash, but aside from that, I don't really know too much about her. I like the character when I see her in the crossover, and I like the actress who plays her. I just feel like I'm not qualified enough to speak against her just because I don't really know enough about her. So most of my argument is tend to gear towards Superman, and I know it feels wrong, but he's not on my list. And I know that's like a weird thing to say because I really like Superman. Like, I'm not a Superman hater, just there are heroes I would rather watch than Superman. And so for those reasons, I left him in my honorable mentions. Uh, that's just where I'm at. But Katie, do you have any argument against Wonder Woman? Because I love Wonder Woman.
I didn't have Wonder Woman on my list because I obviously the first thing I thought of was what Dylan said of all the DC films, hers has been the most exciting to watch.
Mhm.
But otherwise, I don't know. I've never really felt terribly invested in her as a character, like as Diana.
Okay.
Instead, I'm more just like, yeah, Wonder Woman's cool. Her outfit's nice. She's got the whip and everything, which is clever and cool. And of course, like you said, she's like super powerful. But I don't feel terribly like, yeah, I just personally don't have a connection to her based off of that like one movie in the Justice League. So that's my argument for that.
Yeah, I think we're coming at similar places of like how I address Supergirl is how
Yeah,
you address Wonder Woman. We're like, I just don't have enough to go off of.
And we
But
don't want you don't want either of these people to not be on the list. You know what I mean? It feels
right.
wrong to have both, like have one and not the other.
Right. I think, yeah, that's what's coming up for me, I think, is that's like, but I think if we're honoring the characters, they're friends. They'd be happy with the other one being on the list no matter what. They'd be supportive of each other. So since you both have Wonder Woman, I'll concede and I'll say Wonder Woman deserves to be on the list because girl power, hell yeah.
so our number three spot is Wonder Woman. For my number two, and full disclosure, already on the list, it's Captain America. Was my number two spot. My one and two spots go back and forth for me, but I landed on two for Cap. I love Captain America just because he is such a force of unwavering good. He always stands up to bullies and he refuses to move for anyone. He is my favorite hero to watch in the MCU, and Chris Evans' portrayal of him just can't be matched. I'm Team Cap all the way in Civil War, although I am Team Cap because Iron Man was acting out of personal bias. That being said, I don't like Bucky, and I need Cap to stop obsessing over Bucky because I do not like Bucky, and I wasn't sad when he was dusted in Infinity War. You heard it, Internet.
So what you're saying is you still partially agreed with Team Iron Man.
Yeah, because I just recognized it as like I don't like that the team is dividing and they shouldn't have to sign the accords. But so Cap was right there. And Iron Man was technically wrong about Bucky because he was acting out of a really personal like vendetta, which, I'm not blaming him for that, but he wasn't coming from an unbiased place. That being said, Bucky's lame and I don't like him, and he stops the plot anytime they try and make him a thing. And I don't believe that he and Steve Rogers were friends because they had one time at a carnival together and now they need to obsess about it all the time. I don't like Bucky
What?
at all. Uh,
Go on.
coincidentally, my favorite Marvel movie is The Winter Soldier, but it's because he's a plot device, not a character. Like as a plot device, he's cool, but like as a character, Bucky's lame.
Tim stomps all over a character and then cites the one movie he's the main part of.
But he's not. He's a plot device. He's not a character.
He's the title of the film.
Yeah, but you don't watch The Winter Soldier for Bucky.
I just don't watch The Winter Soldier ever.
Oh.
My number two was previously mentioned and not on this list yet is Spider-Man. My personal, totally 100% biased opinion is my favorite superhero. I put Spider-Man at 2 for all the reasons Tim talked about earlier. He's personally the most relatable character out of any superhero. he deals with like real actual issues, like his blames himself for the death of his uncle, like has to go through all this stuff beforehand early on, and then goes on and has to deal with like the superhero issues, like you said. I just think like most personal character, I just love the way he fights and just like sarcastically talks back at people the whole time. I love it. I love everything he does. From the old movies to the MCU movies, I read very few comics. Those were the comics I read, was the Spider-Man ones, the old TV shows. I'll be very sad to see him not make this list, and I have him at number 2. There's only one superhero who's better than Spider-Man.
My number 2, also already mentioned. Oh boy, it's Civil War all over again. Iron Man.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
It's a show now.
I have Iron Man at number 2 for the same reasons I said before. Honestly, I'd like put him higher if but I have someone else that has also already been mentioned that I think deserves to be higher. Because of how relatable he is. But anyways, I put Iron Man at number 2 for, like I said before, he's like, his Tony Stark's character development, and I love me a good bad boy that like you see the soft side every once in a while and how like interesting of a character that could be. And then the same sort of thing of like, not only is he just like rich, but like he has the brains to make the technology that makes him a superhero. Tim, with the Civil War thing, I agree. I'm also Team Cap, but but I also don't blame Tony for being a little butthurt that someone killed his parents.
Just a little.
Yeah, no,
a little bit.
No, I just sided with him, with Cap, because I was like, Cap is acting like unbiasedly, Tony's biased, but if I were in the same place, I can't say I wouldn't do the same. You know, I'm just like, he's like not able to think clearly.
Yeah, but I love Iron Man. He's funny. There's a comedic element, which I think is very important when it comes to superheroes, particularly when in the movies that we've seen. We love a good chuckle, especially from good old Tony Stark. So that's my number 2.
Katie, I see where you're going with your number 1 pick, and Tim, since Cap's are on this list,
Yeah, I'm gonna roll over on this one.
I'm willing to concede Iron Man because I have a funny feeling I know what Katie's first pick is, and
you're gonna be so sad if it's not. You're gonna be so sad.
I know, but I would rather, so personal bias aside, if I had to pick between, if like Spider-Man or Iron Man's gonna make this list, it should be Iron Man.
Can I just say, I think my whole list is gonna be this list, just not in the order that I had it.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Okay, not that gets me any points in the long run, but I'm just simply saying that's kind of cool. Our number 2 spot is Tony Stark Iron Man. All right, let's move on to our number 1 spot.
Like I said before, he's relatable. I got Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was
number
right.
1. I think pretty much for the same reasons that Dylan said before, Peter Parker, or really any of them too, because like into the Spider-Verse and everything, they're Spider-Man is always a relatable like person no matter what, and he's funny, and like we can see ourselves in him, and the powers are cool and unique, and another like talk about a cool like origin story. And also my biggest argument, I'm an advocate for not killing bugs, and spiders get killed a lot, and but yet everyone stands around and loves Spider-Man. So that's my final argument for that.
Nice.
He made spiders cool. Okay.
So did Black Widow?
No.
No,
not the same. Not the same.
That's not her whole shtick. So no.
Yeah, she's not really leaning into the whole like spider thing.
All right, my number 1 is Iron Man. I know he hit the number 2 spot, and I won't go too much again to the argument because you've heard every argument about Iron Man, but for the same thing you guys all already said. I just had it at the number 1 spot. I love him at number 2, and I absolutely love Spider-Man at number 1. I am fully backing Katie. Spider-Man for number 1. Tim, I hope you have a good argument ready.
I'm gonna
Um,
like just like half-heartedly just like get through my number one spiel because it's not happening. Uh, like the number one spot has already been won, so I'm just gonna excitedly talk about Batman for a minute. I love Batman. He has the best villains of any superhero whatsoever. His rogues gallery is incredible. Every one of them you could make a movie around. He has the like traditional superhero past, like that's the one you kind of think of when you think of like superheroes usually. He doesn't have superheroes and fits multiple genres. He's the best detective in the world, as well as a ninja, as well as leading a double life where in most cases as a billionaire he's given a charity and like helping with politics and stuff. So he's being a superhero on both fronts. He is the Dark Knight and he's had to overcome the most, and I love Batman. Spider-Man, congratulations on the number one spot.
High five, Dylan.
Good work.
Yeah, so great. So now that we have our official top 6 list, let's just list them off. Let's hear them. So our number 6 spot is Black Widow. Our number 5 spot is Batman. Our number 4 spot, Captain America. Our number 3 spot, Wonder Woman. Our number 2 spot, Iron Man. And our number 1 spot is Spider-Man. Our final score rests as I have 2, Dylan has 2. Katie takes the day with 3 on the list. Katie, well done.
Ooh,
Excellent work, Katie.
I
Yeah.
don't know how that happened. Sweet. Thanks, guys.
So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with this because my entire list is on this list, just in a very different order than I had it.
So you won too. And Dylan won because Spider-Man's number 1.
Yeah, we're all
of
winners.
this, like our top 4, just out of order all over the place. It was kind of the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
you can't really argue with these guys.
You can't.
I'm the one jerk who had Iron Man at number 5, so.
I'm glad you came. to
Spider-Man at number
that.
4, you animal.
Now, Katie, before we sign off, is there anything you'd like to plug?
Oh, heck yeah. I've got a podcast called A Respectful Conversation. It is just a podcast where I talk to a guest. Sometimes it's just me, but most of the times I have a guest. They get to pick the topic, something that they're passionate about, and we just spend like an hour or so talking about different topics, and it's a fun time. And it is up on SoundCloud, and it is now up on Spotify, which I'm very excited about. And some episodes of it in video form will be featured on this channel, Famous Secret Agent.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely check it out. It's a fun time. I love having it on in the car while I'm driving places. So look her up. She's on Spotify. A Respectful Conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been Top Shelf Takes. Katie, thank you for coming.
Oh, it was so fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Great time.
absolutely. Yeah. Dylan, thank you for joining us as always, sir.
Always.
We'll see you next episode, I'm sure. And yeah. So anyway, leave a like, click subscribe, and we'll see you for more videos. Thanks for watching.